I tell them suckers to move. I ain't in the mood. Got me with the crew, let me do what I do. I tell them suckers to poof. Got me in the booth, lobby in the truth. Let me do what I do. Yeah, remember when the U come through, enter the music jungle. Or back with the block, I used to rock, I used to fumble. I still rock down, drop the ball where I want to. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Manny.
My name's Alberto.
And you're tuned in to the OnlyFights Podcast.
Episode 42.
Let's get it.
I guess we should start off by saying Happy Mother's Day to everybody, all the mothers out there.
Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers, even though I think they're going to get this a day late. But that's okay.
You are appreciated.
Facts.
But yeah, man, another action-packed weekend.
Yeah, man. Super action-packed and very dramatic. We got a huge upset in the sport of professional boxing.
I didn't think we were going to see it, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, I knew it was possible. I was telling you all week, man, Canelo struggles with people with good jabs.
Yep.
And, I wasn't really thinking about that too much up until, as we got closer to the fight. That's crazy, man.
And as soon as the fight started, that was the first thing we saw.
Yeah, so let's talk about it, man. Slightly underwhelming in terms of action, but, certainly not the drama.
Yeah.
Dazn, hosting Saul Canelo Alverez, moving up to the light heavyweight division to challenge WBA champion Dmitry Bivol. And I think this was the first Dazn Ppv, right? Is the first one?
I think so, yeah.
Promoted by Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Boxing. We start off with some heavyweights, some familiar names in the division I've seen. Scott Alexander, I seen him take on our buddy, Travis Kaufman.
Yeah.
Close fight where Travis would get the nod. And the one comes in. He takes on the Big Bang, John J. Lee, who would flatten the 33-year-old journeyman with a straight left in the first. It was that would be the only knockout of the night, which is why I say a little underwhelming in terms of action. But then we have rising Mexican-American Mark Castro out of Fresno, California. He improves to 7-0 with 5 knockouts as he takes on his second opponent of the year, Pedro Vicente. His last fight was the first time he went the distance, and this fight would also go the distance, as his Puerto Rican nemesis proves to be a little tricky. He was real slick. I don't think you see that too much in Puerto Rican fighters.
Yeah.
But he would have some success throughout the entire fight and ultimately lose every round. But Castro was aggressive and relentless with the attack and the onslaught, which gave Vicente room to counter. And he seemed really happy, Vicente, with just going the distance. Like I said, it was virtually a shutout. Castro would get the unanimous decision. But he seemed happy just at the end of the fight, touching gloves and, showing a lot of respect.
Yeah.
Both men. It's a good fight, though. Then we have a contest in the welterweight division. I didn't pay too much attention to it because I think this is when the Ferguson fight would start, and we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
But you have Christian Gomez out of Guadalajara, Mexico, same place Canelo from, taking on the undefeated Shakram Wonderboy Gaethje. And Gaethje, he came out looking sharp, pumping the jab, displaying good offense. Starts to pick it up towards the middle round. He drops Gomez with a left hook in the 6th, I believe, and he's cruising in the 10th round. He goes for the kill. He drops Gomez again, this time with a right uppercut. But Gomez would survive and lose a unanimous decision. Wonderboy remains undefeated at 13-0 now with 9 knockouts in the welterweight division. So maybe we'll see him in the future against, I don't know, Conor Benn.
Yeah.
Next up in the junior welterweight division, that's 140. We have the decorated rising contender out of Cleveland, Ohio, and Montana Love. He's taking on Gabriel Valenzuela. That's another fighter out of Guadalajara.
Yeah.
And this fight kind of sucked. You remember? It wasn't that good. It started off pretty exciting. Montana Love would clip Gabe and drop him. It wasn't really hurting nothing, but that would be a 10-8 round for Love. And then in the next round, the same thing would happen to Love, where he
Yep.
would get clipped and he would go down. Didn't really get hurt, but I could tell that he didn't like the power. He didn't like the taste of the power,
Yeah.
and he fought real conservative for the whole fight. And again, that it just made it a very boring fight. He did just enough to win. He got a real close decision. All three judges having it 114 to 112. So one round could have made it a draw.
Yeah.
Two rounds he could have lost. Yeah, not the best display for Montana Love. He's coming off of two really fun and entertaining fights, especially that one with Ivan Branchek. And this time he's on the undercard of a Canelo Alverez pay-per-view.
Yeah.
And
Probably the biggest stage, right?
Easily the biggest stage of his career so far, and doesn't really deliver. Hopefully, hopefully he can bounce back from that. Eddie Hearn was talking about putting him in with Regis Prograis.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a great fight. Regis Prograis, great fighter out of I think he's from New Orleans.
Yeah.
Or I could be wrong, but only lost to Josh Taylor in a very close fight. So that would be, yeah, I actually would favor Prograis on that. Anyways, good showing though from Love. I mean, in terms of skills and everything else, just very conservative. That's all. So then we have the main event.
Yep.
Canelo and versus Dmitry Bivol. Yeah, man, and just leading up to the fight, I loved how poised Bivol was.
Yeah.
I loved how he handled everything. He didn't he didn't take the Caleb Plant route with the talking shit.
Yeah.
He said what he had to say in terms of like, hey man, he's just a guy. I could beat him. He's not Superman, or I forget what he was saying exactly, but but that's basically what he was saying. And
that he wanted to test himself against this guy that
Right.
everybody says is the best.
Right. And Canelo was doing the same, moving up and challenging himself, because you definitely saw the size difference, man. Like, especially
sure.
like on the night of the fight, man. Like,
Yeah, as soon as they got in the ring, you could tell this was by far the biggest size difference Canelo's faced yet.
I was like, shit, man.
This
Bivol just looked like.
This was his second fight at light heavyweight?
Yep. Canelo fought Sergey Kovalev in a fight where he was losing.
Yeah.
I think he was losing the fight, and I thought he was getting outboxed, and I thought Kovalev was fighting very conservative, and
Yeah.
Canelo was able to just pop him with two shots. I think one to the body that would bring his arms down and then leave his face wide open, and then he caught him with the overhand right or the hook. Yeah, that was It's funny, man, because I was saying how Canelo struggles with people with good jabs, and Kovalev certainly has a good jab. Another person who has a good jab is Triple G, who Canelo struggled with in the first fight, and in both fights. And of course Mayweather has a good jab.
Yep.
Lara has a good jab. A lot of people thought that Lara might have should have won the fight. Trout has a good jab. Back when Canelo fought Trout. And though they never fought, but Charlo has a good jab.
Yeah.
Charlo has a really good jab, so that's why people want them to fight. Yeah, man. So Bivol, man, he's enormous. He's strong. He comes out. He's popping the jab. Occasionally he's throwing some 1-2s, landing some counters. It's looking very similar to the first fight with Triple G, except in this fight, Triple G's much bigger. He's younger. He's stronger. He's faster. And he's throwing more combinations. That's one thing Triple G never did against Canelo. He never threw combinations.
It was crazy to see that. To see Canelo get hit with combinations.
Right, and to see his face get popped back like that.
Yeah.
He'd end up against the ropes. And the thing is, we know Canelo to be an amazing counterpuncher.
Yeah.
So Bivol was doing just enough to hurt Canelo and land shots, and then he'd back off.
Yep.
And there were many times, especially up against the ropes, when Canelo would try to bait him in so that he could land a counter. And again, I'm just so impressed by like how poised Bivol was, just like the lead up to the fight.
Yeah.
And being in the fight, knowing that, hey man, I just tagged Canelo with a couple good shots. Let me back off.
Yep.
Because I know if I keep doing this, he's gonna eventually be able to counter me. And just a brilliant game plan by Bivol and his team. They towards the middle rounds, Reynosos and his tone was really changing. Canelo was looking frustrated. Uh, it really seemed like there was nothing he could do. He was landing occasionally. He was throwing. I should say he wasn't landing it, but he was throwing the winging uppercut, the haymaker, when you just kind of throw that haymaker on fight night and shit, and it just wasn't landing.
Same thing, the big overhand right. You know what I mean?
A couple of them, yeah, and he couldn't find the mark, man. And a few times where he would land the uppercut, it didn't really seem to bother Bivol. You gotta understand, man. This is a natural 175er. He's taken punches from hard hitting guys like Joe Smith Jr., who we'll get to later in the show, and he's also fought Pascal, who was on a lot of steroids. We now know, so he was really strong and powerful. So this smaller guy, Canelo, man, just could not hurt him, could not put a dent in him, and I think 175 is just too much for Canelo, because like I said, he was losing that fight with Kovalev. Kovalev was using the jab effectively, but Kovalev was people would say a shell of himself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? In that fight, he almost got knocked out in the fight before that against Anthony Yard, and he took this fight like 6 weeks after that fight. So it was very close. Back-to-back training camps, a lot of things, a weight clause, I believe.
Yeah.
A lot of things that really helped Canelo in that fight. Not to take nothing away from Canelo, in that victory, he deserved it, but in this fight, there was none of that.
Yeah.
Bivol had plenty of time to train, and prepare. There was no weight clause. There was none of that. And he's not at an age. He's young. He's
Probably
actually the same age as Canelo.
In his prime, arguably.
He's in his prime, right? So yeah, man, and Canelo, it's like they were realizing that during the fight. They're like, damn, I think we bit off more than we can chew, and he's looking frustrated.
You think he was just relying on the power? Because it didn't seem like they had much of a game plan.
I mean, of course, because I think that's what it is. I think he fell in love with his power, like 168, knocking these guys out. But
knocking out
again,
big
at
guys.
175, it's just different, man. These guys are bigger.
Yeah.
And like I said, Bivol has tasted power like that before. So yeah, man, you seen Canelo face all messed up. You seen him in that weird clinch where he almost suplexed Bivol. I was joking about how I was like, oh, it looks like Canelo's training for Usman.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna give him that fight.
That's funny.
Yeah, so nonetheless, the only question that was like remaining as we were finishing up watching the fight was, can Bivol really get a decision against Canelo? We always talk about how Canelo gets these gifted decisions and this, that, and the third.
Yeah.
Well, I had the fight. I think I gave Canelo. I was graciously giving him 4 rounds, but there was 2 swing rounds, and I know a lot of people who only gave him 2 rounds.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, it was a pretty close, or not close rather, but close in the judges.
Yeah.
I believe they had it 115 and 113.
Yep, all three of them.
All 3 judges had it 115, 113 for Bivol. So he would win the fight, but those are some pretty close scorecards, man, for a fight that you gotta argue that Canelo won more than 2 rounds. So that's crazy. That's crazy. But it's crazy, man. Canelo lost the fight. Like, he hasn't done that since what, 2014 or 12 or whenever that Mayweather fight was.
Almost a decade.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, well, he had that draw with Triple G, but
Oh yeah.
he didn't lose technically. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's really gonna shake up the boxing world, because so many people. I mean, y'all still want that fight now? I mean, I'm sure they still want the fight. He's still a champion at 168. He didn't lose those titles.
Yeah.
He just has another loss in his record, and his stock went down a little bit. Um, Bivol, his stock went up. He really showed his personality after the fight, man. Right?
Yeah.
Like the interviews, he was joking and you know saying they were like, "Did Canelo hurt you at all?" And he's like, "Yeah, he hurt my arm
Yeah.
because that's all he could hit," and stuff like that. Um,
Yeah, 'cause
he was cracking.
He was pretty emotionless, like leading up to
Exactly.
it.
That's what I'm
and
saying.
even in the
Like
fight.
he was a rock, and then after he won, he's like, "I told you guys,
Yeah.
he's just another guy."
Yep.
And I like what he said to Eddie Hearn. He said, "I'm sorry I spoiled your plans for the Triple G
Yeah.
fight." But I don't know, man. Maybe this makes the Triple G fight even that more exciting because Canelo's coming off a loss. You can
Yeah.
kind of look at the Triple G fight as a. I don't want to disrespect Triple G, but
Like a tune-up.
yeah, something like a tune-up. Remember when like when Spence came back and he fought Danny Garcia,
Yeah.
and people said, that's definitely not a tune-up because it's Danny Garcia, but at the same time, of all the top guys, Danny Garcia is probably like the least threatening one.
Yeah. Right.
And that's no disrespect to Danny Garcia. He's in a division with monsters. Um, yeah, that's how I'm looking at it. Triple G in his case, obviously he's just older.
Yeah.
But I think maybe now that makes that fight just a little more interesting. And in terms of the light heavyweight division, I think Canelo should just stay away from there. At least for now.
Yeah.
Take on these guys that you should have fought. I shouldn't say should have because Bivol was the harder challenge, obviously. But yeah, Benavidez, Charlo, and Triple G again. F it. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, that would be interesting. But in terms of light heavyweight, man, so we have coming up June 18th, Joe Smith Jr. is gonna take on Better Biev, and they're both champions at 175. They're gonna unify. So the winner of that clearly should be taking on Bivol. And then we'll see an undisputed champion at 175.
So you think we're not gonna see the rematch of Canelo and Bivol?
I mean, if Canelo wants it, he's obviously gonna get it. But what's the point? That's not, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not feeling that. I don't like that whole ego of like, I think what did he say? This ain't over, or this isn't how it ends.
Yeah, I think obviously in the moment he would say that he wants the rematch. Who knows if he really does it? It seems like he finally, he wanted to test himself, see how far up he can go, and I think he found out.
Right. I mean, he was talking about fighting Usyk. Like, let's dead that.
Yeah.
And even Makabu. I mean, Makabu probably would have beat him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I don't know. Nonetheless, it's kind of messed up to say it, but like, kind of good. This really shakes up the world of boxing, man.
Yeah.
Like, our pound for pound king just took an L. There's a new guy, new guy on the block.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man.
Do you think Bivol is the tougher guy out of the other light heavyweights?
I always thought better Biev just because he had power,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, like I did see better Biev go down, and get hurt a few times. Joe Smith, I never looked at him as the guy who could beat Canelo. I always thought it would be either Bivol or Better Biev, but I thought it was gonna be Better Biev.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like I said, man, really shakes up the world of boxing. We'll see where he goes from here. If he does get the rematch, I certainly can't favor him, man. I don't know what he could do different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Keep lifting weights and getting stronger. I don't know. Like, I don't know if that's gonna work. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, nothing seemed to really work, and he couldn't really work the body the way he usually does.
He was gassing out too. That's another thing. He
Yeah.
hasn't done that since the first fight with Triple G. That's why I say that fight kind of reminds me of that. Just because, in terms of Canelo, if you remember, he was fighting in spurts in that fight.
Yeah.
Whereas in this fight, it's sort of the same thing, except those spurts were, longer winded, man.
Yeah, it was crazy.
But all in all, like I said, not the most action-packed card, but certainly dramatic.
Yeah.
A card that I think you can say was somewhat the opposite, where it wasn't too dramatic, but very action-packed, was UFC 274, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. A lot of crazy shit happened, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, we had a little bit of drama too, I guess. With the whole Olivera missing weight, getting stripped on the scale, pretty much.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That's kind of messed up, right?
Yeah, I mean,
half a pound.
I don't know. There's a whole bunch of theories now. Like I read even more stuff this morning. Who knows? Something happened, but so he misses weight. And then also I'll start from the beginning. So Donald Cerrone was supposed to be on this card too. He was taking on Joe Lauzon, but that fight got called off like a couple hours before, like early in the day Saturday.
Yeah.
And it was just weird watching it because I was watching the press conference the day before, and Cowboy was saying how, they always ask him about the Conor fight and shit, and he always says that he has those fights sometimes where he just wakes up in the morning and he just don't want to do it, and he'll go show up to arena, don't want to be in there, and you know what I mean, and just looks for a way out basically. He said that's what he did with the Conor fight. He said as soon as Conor gave him a way out, he took that. He took that way out.
Yeah.
And so that's what I kind of think happened. And I feel like this time he just chose not to go through with it instead of going through with it and getting knocked out or something. So I don't know. It's kind of sad. I hope Cowboy gets his shit right.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like a mental. Yeah, I feel really bad for him, man. I hope he gets help, man.
Yeah, for sure.
That sounds horrible, to be honest.
Yeah, that was kind of sad. But yeah, so so a fight from that was supposed to be the first fight on the main card. So this other fight gets moved up. First fight of the main card is Randy Brown versus Chaos Williams, welterweight fight. This is a really exciting fight. Randy Brown, up and coming fighter. I think this is like his third UFC fight or something. He's got a couple knockouts. Real tall, long guy. And Chaos Williams, we've seen him a bunch of times. He's known for having crazy power in his knockouts. Really good fight. A lot of back and forth. Both guys were landing really hard. I think Chaos Williams was got hurt a little bit more, especially in the third round. He definitely was wobbled in that third round and almost went out. Randy Brown ends up getting the decision win. It was I think he definitely won the fight. He got dropped, I believe, in the third too, but I think he just got dropped and got right back up. I think he definitely had Williams more hurt, especially in that third. But fun fight.
Yeah.
The next fight, we didn't really watch this one, but I don't think we missed too much. It was light heavyweight fight. This is like a throwback. Fight. Mauricio Shogun Hua took on Vince Saint Preux. Yeah. Both these. This is the second time they fight. They fought like years ago, probably like 10 years ago in the UFC. Both were contenders in light heavyweight division. I do not believe neither of these guys made 205. I think they just said, all right, we're gonna say this is at 205. You guys could just come in because dude, they both looked out of shape. Like it seemed like such a boring fight. We were going back and forth from the boxing. I think we were watching the Montana Love fight during that one.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but I don't think we missed too much on that. St. Preux ends up getting the decision win. I remember watching some of the end of the third round, and Shogun looked pretty hurt. He seemed to just kind of be on his bike, trying to stay away. And then the next fight, we were really excited for this one. A lightweight fight between Michael Chandler took on Tony Ferguson. Michael Chandler coming off of 2 losses, I believe. Yeah, coming off 2 losses to the 2 guys fighting in the main event. He lost to Charles Oliveira and then lost to Gaichi. And same thing with Tony Ferguson, right? He lost to both those guys as well. He lost to Justin Gaethje and lost to Oliveira.
Yeah.
And I think he lost to Beneil Dariush as well. Tony's coming off 3 losses. So, wanted to see Tony do good. First round, he looked really good, man. He kind of looked like his old self. He looked fast for his age, you know what I mean? Kind of getting up there now. And Michael Chandler looked big and strong like usual. I would say Ferguson probably won the first round, right? I think he had Chandler almost hurt. He seemed like he wobbled him a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
It was really, it seemed like
it was a close round because I think Chandler had the
yeah, they had the takedown at the end.
And at the end of the round.
Yeah, I think he ended up on top and stuff. He landed some elbows. I think Tony also landed some elbows from the bottom.
Yeah.
Obviously Tony's always looking for submissions, so he was attacking from the bottom as well.
It was a close round though. I think
really close round.
Either way.
Really close round, and it seemed like we were about to have like a hell of a fight. Like it was really exciting.
Yeah.
And then second round starts, and almost immediately Chandler throws a front kick right up the middle, like soccer style, and you can tell he just puts like everything into it, and it just goes like grazes Tony's chest and hits him like right under the chin, like a perfect uppercut, and Tony just goes out immediately, like lands face first.
One of the nastiest knockouts I've ever seen.
Yeah, very vicious. Like
Easy.
It was crazy.
The worst part about it was the way he went down. His face first, just hitting that canvas. Like,
yep.
That, I think that's what made the that's why he was out for like a few minutes.
Yeah, it looked bad. As soon as he connected, it just went out.
I just want to get this out there. I read he passed all like the concussion protocols, and he was released from the hospital, and he's fine. So thank God for that, because the way it looked, yeah, it was terrible, man.
And even when he woke up and they were announcing the win and everything, he still seemed like he was out of it. Like I don't think he knew what was going on. Like you could see some people going up to him and talking to him, and he just was like blank stare in his face. It was kind of scary. But yeah, so man, I don't know. Tony, he's fighting the top. He's fighting top 5 guys. You know what I mean? He's still a top guy too. But anybody can get caught, and he got caught again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Chandler, he went super WWE in this post fight interview.
Yeah, it was highly annoying.
Yeah,
but continue.
But it works. It works for him. So he fucking went crazy. He went all Macho Man and started calling out. He said pretty much he would want to fight Gaichi or Olivera again, and obviously the winner of the fight the main event. And then he even said Conor. He said or Conor if Conor wants it, and then Conor actually like responded to him, I guess, online or whatever. So I think that would be a good fight for Conor.
You didn't mention the backflips, man.
Oh yeah.
You know how much Dana White loves those backflips.
Yeah, he did it like 4 times. Which is kind of fucked up. I mean, I was glad that once Tony went down, he didn't. He had the opportunity to kind of hit him again, and he didn't. And then the ref stopped it, and then he did like probably 4 backflips in a row.
Yeah, while he was still out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that call out was crazy though. Like he didn't, just say it. He sprayed it.
Yeah, he went crazy. Yeah, he's exciting to watch, man. He came from Bellator. He was the Bellator champ, and he said he just wanted to take the biggest fights, and that's what he's been doing for sure. He's been putting on great shows ever since.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Seriously, one of the best. Definitely probably gonna be knockout of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be that or that spinning elbow from that one chick. But,
yeah. And he said it's not something that he even like practices too much. He said he just kind of saw the opening of Tony got like an awkward style. But yeah, man, it just landed perfect. And then the co-main event was another one that was a little bit lackluster, wasn't too exciting. Really, really weird fight. Like I couldn't even really believe it. So it was the strawweight championship fight. Rose Namajunas defending against Carla Esparza. Their second time fighting. First time was years and years ago. The first strawweight fight or championship fight for the females, and Carla Esparza had beat her. She became champ, and then I think it was Joanna Jędrzejczyk that beat her. Then Joanna went on her run, and then obviously lost to Rose again a couple years ago. So I don't know, man. This was a really weird fight.
These women must have got the memo that they were gonna be on during the Canelo fight, and they're like, "Oh, ain't nobody gonna watch us. We're just gonna move around and
it's crazy. It's actually
play tag."
It's the second time that happens to Rose, where like at the Madison Square Garden card, the one I had went to, Rose fought on the undercard, and it was the same thing. The Canelo fight was on during that fight.
Yeah,
that fight was a little more exciting, but yeah, this fight was really weird, man. I think both both fighters just had game plans that kind of didn't match up well, and it just ended up being a really boring fight. I think both of them just played it too safe. Like Rose just, she uses her length well, and she just stayed at distance. Carla Esparza was, looking for takedowns, but waiting to counter with takedowns. But Rose wasn't really giving her much. I think Carla Esparza did get her down twice, and if you look at the strike numbers, it's crazy. Like they landed like 30 punches each, like the whole fight.
Yeah, that's sad.
I think Dana White in the post fight said in the one round there were 6 punches landed total, or 6 strikes landed total.
Both co-main events were pretty terrible.
Yeah. And, I was expecting a little more from Rose. I thought Rose would, since we obviously knew that Esparza would try to wrestle her, I thought that Rose would accept it and, wrestle her as well. Because that's kind of what she did with Zhang Weili. She knew that Zhang Weili was going to wrestle her, and she kind of, accepted it and was up for the challenge and out wrestled her. But, I don't know. This was really weird. Carlos Esparza ends up getting the decision after 5 rounds, and everybody was shocked, but I don't think anybody cared. You know what I mean? Like, that's what's crazy. Like, she got it, and I think everybody's surprised, but I think the fight was so boring that everybody was like, all right, whatever. So, yeah, I don't know. I could tell you one thing, though. They're not going to make that rematch because nobody wants to see that again.
Right.
So, Carla Esparza will, be champ again. Now she's a 2-time champ, which is cool. She was one of the pioneers as well. She's been around for a while, so... And when she lost the title the first time, she went through a bunch of losses and stuff, and then worked her way back up to earn the title shot again. So she definitely deserves it. I'm sure Rose will come back. Rose seems to also kind of struggle being champ. Like, I think a lot of fighters, like, they work their whole career to become champ, and then once they become champ, I don't think they kind of don't have that extra motivation or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So because it's happened to her before. She lost the fight to Andrade, and then she came back and won the belt again. So I guess we'll see how long she wants to do it. She's already done a lot in the sport. I don't know if she wants to go after a third title run.
Right.
And then so Joanna is gonna fight Zhang Weili. That fight's gonna happen, and I'm sure that the winner of that will get the title shot against Esparza. And then on to the main event. Charles Olivera versus Justin Gaethje. Super excited for this fight. So, I think everybody was kind of shocked to see Charles Olivera missed weight. I guess he was a pound or half a pound over when he went to weigh in, and they gave him an hour to finish cutting, to try to lose that half a pound. And I guess he went up to his room and couldn't lose it pretty much, and went back down and was still a pound over. And so basically he gets stripped from the title, and only Justin Gaethje can win the fight, or can win the belt if he wins the fight. Right. So I was kind of surprised. It says the first time that happened. So I was kind of surprised about that. I didn't know that, when it's a title fight, you have to weigh in right on.
You don't get that extra pound.
You don't get that extra pound that you do in all the other fights. Like in all the other fights, they have like a 1 pound, limit that they can go above. So I was kind of surprised about that. All kinds of theories are out there. People are blaming it on the commission in Phoenix where they were. People blaming the scales, that some of the European fighters were messing with the scale, like switching it from kilos to pounds. All kinds of shit. Even some people possibly from the opposite camp tampering with the scale. Like I read off, there's everything.
I'm not gonna get it.
Everything's out there right now. So who knows? But he misses weight. The fight continues, thank God. And I'll be honest, like I was really I really thought Charles would win this fight, but after that I was like, ooh, this is like another kind of a mental thing now he has to overcome. Knowing that even if he wins, he's not going to be champ. He has to kind of separate himself from that now. Yeah. Like mentally, like all right, even if I win this, I'm not going to be the champ. But yeah, he seemed to deal with it pretty good. The fight was really exciting. Only lasted 1 round. It's kind of what I'm not surprised the way it ended, but man, Charles is just a fucking bad motherfucker in there, man. Yeah. Like again, he just proves that he's the champ. He's the fucking champ.
Slugging it up with Gaichi, man.
Yeah, man.
Way
like
he was doing it.
He went out there, and I think he caught Gaethje first, right? Like almost in their first exchange, he hits him with a big right hand and kind of wobbles Gaethje. But Gaethje's always like that. Like once he gets hit once, he just is like kind of wobbly the whole fight. It's kind of like his style. Like what I mean, he kind of got like that wobbly style once he gets going, and and then Gaethje hits him, cracks him a couple times, hits him with the big right. I think drops him twice, right? But it's also part of Charles's game plan. Like it's kind of his thing where when he gets hit hard, he's like, all right, I'm just gonna throw myself back because I know no one's gonna want to come on the ground with me. Right. So that's his, that's kind of his thing to like recover for a second. I mean, it's super smart. Like he knows.
Yeah, he plays possum basically.
Yeah, pretty much. He's like, all right, that was a good one, and he just kind of threw himself back twice. I think the one actually it looked like it really dropped him, and then the second one it was kind of late, and he kind of just laid back like he needed a second, and he was bleeding pretty good. Charles was cut right above the eye, from one of those punches and was bleeding pretty good, and they were just going back and forth, man. They were catching each other. You know, Gaethje just looks like he hits harder. Charles doesn't look like he hits super hard, but man, he makes guys drop. And he's got to be the best well-rounded fighter right now in the UFC.
Yeah.
Like this guy's like his hands are he's a killer on the
really
feet now.
Can do it all.
Yeah, like his hands have gotten so much better, and he's been banging it out with all these killers. Like, you know what I mean, with fucking Dustin Poirier, who can fucking hit hard. Michael Chandler fucking hits hard, and Gaethje. You know, those are probably the 3 hardest hitters in the lightweight division.
Right.
And you know, he stood there with all of them, and you know, took their punches and you know, knocked them down. So at the end of the first round, let's say 3 minutes in, he knocks Gaethje down, and he, you know, jumps right on top of him, kind of you know, almost takes the back. It looks like it's about to be over. He doesn't quite have it. He goes for like an armbar, I believe. He goes for like a triangle armbar. Gaethje, you know, scrambles out of it, and you know, like scrambling with a guy like Charles Olivera is super dangerous. And right away he finds the back somehow and just, you know, latches himself on perfectly. Gets his arm underneath the chin, you know, gets to choking, rear naked. You know, Gaethje fights the hands a little bit. Charles readjusts his hands, and dude, he just got it tight. And it's just a matter of time before he taps. And I think he taps and goes to sleep like right after.
Yeah.
And dude, Charles gets up and it was just wild, man. It was crazy. Like it really makes me wish that Khabib wasn't retired, right? Like,
right.
I would have loved to see that one. And yeah. Super impressive how he just, you know, does it all. Like I said, man, he like stands there and is like, you know, we see great boxing, and his jiu-jitsu is crazy. Like how quick he does, and he can choke out anybody pretty much.
Seems like it. All right.
And you know, he even finished him in a better fashion than actually both of them. He finished Dustin Poirier quicker than Khabib, and he finished Gaethje quicker than Khabib.
Yeah.
You know, that's crazy. That's really impressive.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, everybody wants to see Makhachev now. Everybody wants to see Charles fight Islam Makhachev. It would be a good fight. I still think that he should fight Beneil Dariush next, but I guess Beneil's like he had a leg injury, which is why the fight didn't happen in the first place with Islam.
Right.
And then I guess it was a pretty bad. I guess he tore something pretty major because he said he's still not gonna be ready till like October or something. And I don't know. You know, so now we're in a weird position where the lightweight title is vacant. Charles still gets to he becomes the number 1 contender, and he will fight, you know, whoever the next contender is for the belt next. So he's still, you know, pretty much the same thing happened that would have happened, except he's not going to be able to be the champ. But man, we know who the champ is. That guy is the best 155er on the planet right now.
Right.
That was crazy, super impressive. Like, man, it was just can't say it enough. So yeah, I would like to see the Makhachev fight. Fuck it. I mean, I know, you know, I'm sure Beneil Dariush should be really upset about it, but you know, I mean, that's the closest thing to Khabib we got. So
right.
I would like to see that. And honestly, I don't know, like it's crazy to say, but I think Olivera beats him. I think Olivera beats him.
Yeah, me too.
Because you know Islam
got roll.
They always say that he could, you know, he got better striking, but I don't think he's gonna be able to strike with Olivera.
Yeah.
And Gaethje was doing his thing, man. He was hitting him with the hard leg kicks like right away, like, you know, he was fucking up his leg, and Charles just goes forward and just takes the punches and the kicks and moves forward. Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be interesting. I would like to really see that fight. And so, you know, Charles pretty much doesn't call anybody out, you know, as the champ. You know, it's not really his job to call the people out, but you know, he mentions Conor's name. He pretty much said, Conor, you coming back down, or are you going up, or you gonna run away? So I would like to see that fight too, and I think.
Well, he's not the champ though.
Who?
Olivera.
Conor. I mean, Olivera. Yeah, that's right. No, well, not anymore.
But I guess he has to fight somebody for the belt again, right? That's how that works. Yeah.
But yeah, he's number 1 contender, so he's gonna fight. He's pretty much got that fight. He's gonna fight next for the belt again. I don't think he's ever missed weight before, so, and it's kind of wild too, because at the press conference they even asked him. One of the questions was like, oh, you noticeably look like you put on more muscle, like you know, how's the weight cut going or whatever. and he pretty much said, that like I'm, just like normal, I'm growing and getting more natural muscle, but he said he's a professional, and his weight cut's never been an issue for him, and boom, that guy fucking jinxed him. Fucking.
It's crazy, yeah. I don't know, man. Half a pound. It doesn't seem like much, but
yeah, we know he could make the weight. Yeah. Anyway, so that was a UFC card. Pretty good card overall. It was fun to watch it with the boxing and kind of go back and forth. It kind of made up for a couple of the boring fights on the UFC card. So
it did work out like really perfect, especially when because if you remember the Ferguson and he got knocked out right before the Canelo fight started.
Yep.
So not to sound messed up, but it worked out like really good in terms of timing.
Yep.
And then again with the co-main, the Rose fight being real boring
and going all 5 rounds. We kind of needed it to go all 5 rounds so that we could watch the main event after the Canelo fight.
Exactly, and everything just worked out perfect. So I think the combat sports gods are
they're at work
on our side, man.
For sure. And then we had a couple other MMA cards as well over the weekend. Friday, we had 2 Friday. We had PFL and we had Bellator. I think Bellator was first. It was over in Paris, France.
Yeah.
So it was
during the day.
It was during the day. So we saw Yoel Romero took on Alex Polizzi. Seemed like a pretty even fight. Yoel Romero literally gets the last second TKO. He knocks his guy out with 4 minutes and 59 seconds into the 3rd round of the fight.
Man, they're not talking about Yoel Romero and Bellator.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be this big thing, and I guess because he lost to Phil Davis, nobody really cares about him anymore.
Yep. And, his last couple performances haven't been the most exciting. Like,
yeah.
Like cardio has kind of always been his issue, and then it's kind of gotten worse, and he's kind of just like only reserves his his gas tank for a couple explosive moves, but it worked out this time. So that TKO is definitely gonna help him out. So he's fighting at light heavyweight now. He's fighting bigger guys too, so maybe that could be it too.
Yeah.
I'm sure he cut a lot of weight to make 185 before. So that was pretty good. And then that was a co-main for Bellator. The main event was the rematch between Ryan Bader and Chieck Kongo. They had fought before a couple years ago and it ended in a no contest because of a early eye poke. So this was that rematch. This was for the heavyweight title. Yeah, the heavyweight title Bellator, because Ryan Bader was the light heavyweight and heavyweight champ, and he lost the light heavyweight title. So there's the heavyweight title, and Ryan Bader pretty much dominates Chieck Kongo all 5 rounds. Seemed like a pretty boring, not very competitive fight. The scorecards, I'm pretty sure he got all 5 rounds were to Ryan Bader pretty easily. He seemed to be wrestling him and beating him on the ground and on the feet. So Ryan Bader remains champ. That was the Bellator card. And then Friday night we had the PFL card, which I didn't know Kayla Harrison was headlining.
Yeah, me neither, man. They did a pretty bad job promoting that shit.
Yeah, they had those 3 cards back to back all 3 weeks in a row. I feel like they promoted the first one well, and then the second and third one they just kind of didn't even try. So in this card they had lightweights and welterweights. Couple fights on the main card. Rory Mcdonald, UFC veteran, took on Brett Cooper, who I know him from Bellator. He fought in Bellator for a couple years.
Mm-hmm.
This was a pretty good fight. Rory Mcdonald ends up getting the rear naked choke in the first round. Ends it pretty quick. It seemed like a pretty good fight even fight until it got to the ground, and then Rory just got too much experience. He was a UFC champ. I think he was a Bellator champ, and now he's in PFL. So yeah, I think the experience just is what got him the win. And then also another UFC guy, Anthony Pettis fought. He fought against Miles Price. Never heard of this guy, but Anthony Pettis also gets a first round submission, gets a triangle choke.
Nice.
Pretty nice choke, pretty nice submission. First round, yeah, that was pretty good. He seems to be having a pretty good career over there at PFL now.
Yeah.
I mean he had a hell of a UFC career. I just don't think he was gonna become champ again, especially at 155. And then like I said, the main event was Kayla Harrison taking on Marina Maknakina. Kayla Harrison gets the decision win, unanimous decision after 3 rounds. I guess, with PFL, is like they do the season every year, so I guess Kayla Harrison is like defending champ, but this doesn't count as like a title fight.
Right.
They still got to get the points or whatever. So, Kayla Harrison looked pretty upset, like very noticeably upset after this fight. I think she knows that, as after the recent hype, like she's got a lot of hype as of recently. I think, she was supposed to fight Amanda, and Amanda losing and everything, and that spot for like whoever is the number 1 female fighter was kind of up in the air, and she was kind of in that conversation. She signed. She chose to sign with PFL again, re-sign for a long contract. And I think she knows that everybody's expecting a lot from her. Like she got to finish these chicks.
Right.
And I'm pretty. She won unanimous, but you can tell she wasn't very happy with her performance. From what I saw in the highlights, Marina was able to defend pretty good on the ground. Kayla Harrison was able to get her down, as much a lot, but Marina seemed to do a good job of defending and not taking too much damage. She also fought in Bellator for a long time, so she has a lot of experience as well. Probably more experience than Kayla Harrison in MMA, really. So I think it was kind of a wake up call for Kayla Harrison. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's definitely gonna hurt her stock a little bit now because, like I said, everybody's expecting these big things from her. Like she wants to fight Cyborg or something. Like, you know what I mean? Cyborg is still putting on a lot better performances than that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that was the PFL card. That's all I got for that. What else we got coming up in boxing?
Next week we got Jermell Charlo taking on Brian Castano for the undisputed. That's the rematch, if you remember. That's for the undisputed junior middleweight championship.
Yep.
On our card we got Jaron Boots Ennis taking on Castillo Clayton. That should be a good fight. Kevin Gonzalez taking on Emmanuel Rivera, also in the undercard. Also that day you have Zerto Ramirez, another 175-pounder, taking on Dominic Bozel. That's on DAZN. Sergey Kovalev, the Triller Circus is in town next week.
Oh yeah.
So Sergey Kovalev taking on Tervel Pulev. Kubrat Pulev taking on Jerry Foss. Evan Holyfield taking on Jermaine McDonald. If you want to watch that. I believe also Floyd Mayweather fights next week in his little weird thing that he's doing, the exhibition on a boat in Dubai against his former sparring partner. And the week after that, you have David Benavidez taking on David Lemieux. This could be a potential opponent of Canelo Alverez in the future, 168 pounds.
Yeah.
Jorge Cota taking on Uelvis Gomez on the undercard. Yeah, some good fights. Tevin Farmer taking on Mickey Bay, May 21st. Return of Tevin Farmer. Haven't seen him since Jojo Diaz. Javante Davis taking on Rolly Romero, May 28th. That's on Showtime pay-per-view. I'm not really looking forward to that. June 4th, it's official. George Kambosos Jr. will be taking on Devin Haney in Australia for the undisputed lightweight championship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, some good stuff, man. Good stuff coming up.
And then, so next week in MMA, we got Fight Night. Jan Blachowicz, former light heavyweight champion, taking on Alexander Radic. That should be a really good fight. The next pay-per-view, 275. We've mentioned that one a bunch of times. Glover Teixeira, Yuri Prochaska. Oh, and then last night they announced the big July card, which we're kind of waiting on that. We're expecting John Jones to be on it, but he's not going to be on it. So it's going to be headlined by Israel Adesanya taking on Jared Cannonier. That's a big fight.
Oh yeah.
Excited for that one. And then they also announced the co-main will be another title fight. Alexander Volkanovski taking on Max Holloway for the trilogy. I'm hoping that fight. I just want to get that fight over with. So I'm hoping when Henry Cejudo comes back, he could fight the winner. And I would like to see him fight either one of those guys, Volkanovski or Holloway.
Yeah.
That'd be a great fight either way. Also on the July 2nd card, Sean Strickland is gonna fight Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira, the Glory kickboxer.
Right.
That's a big fight. Sean O'Malley is gonna fight Pedro Munoz. Everybody's like, oh, O'Malley's finally fighting a top 10 or top 15 guy. I think Munoz is ranked 10, but I mean, I hate to be this guy again, but Pedro Munoz, lost like 4 of his last 5 fights. Like, this is not the fight we want to see. This is not fight that I want to see O'Malley take. Like, everybody's like, oh, he's finally fighting. Like, no, he's probably gonna knock this guy out. He's been knocked out like his last 2 fights. He's a solid fighter, but he's a little bit past his prime. And O'Malley is just, we haven't seen him fight anybody who has speed like he does. You know what I mean? Or at least known for speed.
Yeah.
Like, he keeps fighting like slower guys. But whatever. O'Malley's fun to watch. I'm sure that'll be a fun fight. Munoz is tough, so I'm sure he'll make him work for it. Robbie Lawler's on that card. There's a lot of good fights on that card. I did forget to mention last night during the broadcast they announced DC will also be inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah.
This year, along with Khabib, which is pretty cool. They're like teammates, so 2 guys from their gym going to the Hall of Fame. DC had a great career, obviously. Two-time champ and double champ. So yeah, congrats to DC, man. That's a great accomplishment.
Word, yeah, man. Not as big, but Kell Brook retires.
Yep, I saw that too. Yeah,
and I'm happy. I'm happy he did because he got the good victory over Amir Khan, and I don't think we need to see him in the ring anymore. I think he can retire at the age of 36. He had a good career. He only lost to the best guys like Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford.
Yeah.
And Triple G. He fought Triple G when nobody wanted to fight Triple G, so credit to him for that. Yeah, man, he retires with a record of 40-3, with 28 wins coming by way of knockout. He beat Sean Porter. I think it was the first guy to beat Sean Porter. So yeah, congrats to him on a great career.
Congrats.
I don't think I really have anything else.
Yeah, I think that's it, man.
Word. So until next week, once again, my name is Manny.
My name's Alberto.
This is the OnlyFights Podcast, and we out.
Peace.
Peace.